When searching for ghosts, expect to find pain and suffering.
I can't breathe, I just feel like they're gonna have to drag me.
Expect to unearth evidence of murder.
No!
Evidence of sorrow.
Belonging.
And evidence of violence. One thing is for sure. If there's a report of paranormal activity, then the ghost detectives will be there. Many say that those who meet terrible deaths are bound to return as ghosts, souls unable to depart their last agonizing moments of mortal life. If this be so, then the old jail in Derby must be prime territory. And it is precisely for this reason that the ghost detectives are here. For Derby Jail, opened in 1756, was the scene of Britain's last hanging, drawing, and quartering, and is a place where hundreds spent their final terrifying hours of life on earth. Imagine what it must have been like. The gloom of the condemned cell, the fear of the hangman's noose, the baying of the crowd, and the terror of that final fatal drop. While it is presumed that many receive their just deserts for crimes committed, there are bound to be those who went to their graves innocent men, wrongly accused and unfairly sentenced. Could any such soul ever find eternal peace? No wonder then that Derby Jail is one of Britain's most haunted places, and why the ghost detectives are less fearful of how many ghosts they'll encounter, but which ones.
Okay. Right, if we get the computer...
The ghost detectives arrive and begin to set up. Leading the investigation is Ross Hemsworth.
Well, here we are in supposedly the most haunted city in Britain, Derby. We're at the old jailhouse, where many, many convicts came through and were executed. I'm sitting in front of the gallows here, although I must say not the original gallows. There were 2 execution sites in Derby, of which one was housed at the front of this building, and apparently many people are buried here in the gardens. So the expectations are high as the team comes in and sets up for the investigation. What we would expect over the course of the week is a lot of malevolent spirits from a place that housed nothing but evil, pain and torture. So I think we could be in for a good week.
The ghost detectives have some of the very latest equipment that they say can detect paranormal activity. Cameras will be set up to cover every part of the jail, which will be monitored 24 hours a day.
Nice on the wall.
The ghost detectives have infrared cameras which allow the team to monitor the jail even in complete darkness. They also have a digital stills camera to photograph areas of the jail where there have been unexplained sightings.
The cells here are where the condemned men were put prior to execution, and some of those cells obviously have reputedly had some of these people hanging around for long after they died. So part of what we're here to check is to see whether or not there is any entities or anything unusual paranormal here.
That's better.
However, they only have 5 days in which to complete the investigation and try to capture ghosts on camera. Furthermore, their work will be complicated by the fact that Derby Jail is open to the public, making camera-shy spirits even more elusive.
Okay, if you can pan it to the left again. And there's several places that have got supposed paranormal activity where people have seen things. Even the guy that does the ghost tours, who believed most of it was myth and legend, saw something himself in here as well. So what we've tried to do is set the mini cameras up in the areas where things have been seen in the past. And when the clairvoyants come round tomorrow, if they feel there's other places where there's possible paranormal activity, we may move some of the cameras. But at the moment, we've put the cameras based on where they've been seen in the past.
The paranormal investigators have 3 approaches: camera and technical surveillance, clairvoyant sensing, and seances and historical research.
Original stonework.
In order to find out some of the stories from Derby Jail's past, Ross Hemsworth is given a tour by the owner and local historian Richard Felix.
We're now entering the jail. This is one of the corridors that led right from the front through to the back. And as we get to this part here, we're standing in the central corridor of the old jail. These are the basement dungeons, the high security cells that are still preserved. And the corridor stretches, as you can see, right the way along here, through that wall, and continues 3 times as big as what we're in. And on the right-hand side and the left-hand side of us, all the way along, you can see the prison doors, and of course behind them, the prison cells.
I would think prisons tend to generate more paranormal activity because of the absolute terror that many of the inmates would have felt once they knew that's where they were going.
And grim sights inside. Of course, this is one of the cells. This is a debtor's cell. You were imprisoned, of course, for debt.
Right.
And weren't released until you'd paid off your debts.
Not a nice place to spend
Not
a lot
at
of
all.
time.
No. And the reason we know this is a debtor's cell is because on here we have a message from J. Taylor from Measham for a £10 debt, 1807. And then we continue down the corridor, and this room here is the infamous, the condemned cell.
If you were sentenced to die on a Friday, generally your execution took place Saturday morning. In that meantime, you were put into the condemned cell.
A room where no light can enter. No window. You couldn't escape through the window. And a separate door, another doorway here.
Lots of etchings again on the
Yeah.
door.
The terror must have been absolutely unbearable. There was no way out. Reprieves were known. Generally, they would happen just before the execution took place.
But what you did was, the week or the night possibly before your execution, you scratched a scaffold on the door and put your initials inside. You went tomorrow
Representing the
morning.
gallows.
Yeah. WM there. JG, James Gratian, hanged for burglary. IH, or could be JH, of course, because the I looked like a J. WH, and this incredible one here, Mr. Brown, one of 4 men hanged in front of this jail in 1817 for setting fire to haystacks.
While the ghost detectives continue their investigation, we'll indulge ourselves in another story. Every day, parties of visitors are shown round the historic old prison. Running a tourist attraction is a busy job for a local historian and current owner, Richard Felix. So busy, in fact, that one might have thought that he would have become blasé about the very ghost stories that attract his visitors. Yet, as the day draws to a close, and the chatter of the tourists is finally replaced by the echoing silence of the empty building, Richard is only too aware of the weight of history bearing down on his shoulders. At 3:20 one afternoon, only a couple of years ago, Richard took a telephone call from a colleague.
Hello, Derby Jail. Yes? Hi, Darren. Yes, fine.
As he talked through some minor business detail, his eye was caught by a sudden, unexplained movement. What was it? A person? Trick of the light? A distinctive grey mist had formed at the end of the shop counter, and a dark figure appeared to glide past and down the corridor.
Don't go away.
Whatever it was, Richard called out and followed it down the corridor.
Excuse me?
And then he reasoned that he must have seen a member of the public who had wandered off from the main group. But the figure ignored his call, and as he followed, gradually disappeared. The building was empty. Richard was alone. Had he imagined the whole thing? Had he seen a ghost? Who knows? Perhaps the ghost detectives can find out. We'll see. At the end of day 1 of the investigation, Ross decides to use another technique he believes can track paranormal activity. He believes that mysterious lines of energy can give spirits the power to appear, and that he can identify these energy lines with the age-old art of dowsing. But not everyone is convinced.
For people who are using dowsing systems, whether it be a forked twig or a pendulum or bent rods or whatever it is, each of those systems is inherently very unstable, so a slight muscular movement will actually produce a very big effect.
And we have a cross here. What I'd like to do is see if we can verify that now in the cell next door, because if there's a line coming through the building in this direction, it should go all the way through past the kitchen. Okay, so if we come into the cell next door, which is the debtor's cell, we should find the line comes through the middle of here as well, and there indeed it is, straight through the centre of the cell. Now we're going to ask it whether it's a ley line or whether it's earth energy. So first off, is this a ley line? The rods have stayed straight, which is a negative answer. Is this earth energy? Yes, it is. So what it basically means is an earth energy line that runs through these cells and probably right through the building.
Even though it doesn't feel to the dowser as if they are actually making the thing move, it turns out it is unconscious muscular movements that are responsible.
Oh, and there we go again. So that's probably a ley line. Is this a ley line? That's strange. It's not. Is this earth energy? Now that is particularly weird. I've never in any venue I've found at the moment found two energy lines running parallel with each other so close together. That's very strange.
Unfortunately, dowsing doesn't seem to work unless the dowser already has a good idea of where the target is, what they're supposed to be looking for.
And there we go. It's not quite as strong. The crossover of the rods was not quite as strong and as fierce as the other side. So I think there's probably less energy here. There is an energy, but not quite as powerful as over the other side. But certainly it would give substance to the apparition that's seen over here. We do tend to get these corroborated reports of apparitions appearing in all the positions where we found earth energy. So there does seem to be some sort of link between. And I personally feel that the apparition, if it appears, is drawing upon this earth energy to give it the strength to appear. And I think when the clairvoyants come in tomorrow, I'd be very surprised if they don't pick up on this corner, certainly the storeroom and the two cells that we've dowsed earlier.
No surprise that Derby Jail is apparently teeming with ghosts. But what will the clairvoyants make of this gruesome place? Who or what will they find there?
I know what I'm going to feel, don't I? I know. I feel absolute terror.
Join us later, if you dare. The ghost detectives are searching for paranormal evidence at one of Britain's most haunted places, the old jailhouse and executioner's block in Derby. And already the clairvoyants are on the trail.
Mr. Tad, well...
The ghost detectives' high-tech surveillance equipment has shown no paranormal activity. So phase 2 of the investigation begins. The team calls in clairvoyants Paul Hanrahan and Marion Goodfellow to conduct a psychic investigation.
Good morning. We're all here.
I'm a Christian spiritualist, so I believe in the continuation of the human soul after physical death. So for me, all I'm interested in doing is being able to prove through the work that we do that that is true.
Both clairvoyants believe that human souls live on after death. They also believe that they have a special ability to make contact with them.
I am the seventh child of a mother who was indeed a seventh child herself. And if you believe in some of the superstitions, and you will know that the seven is of significance. So from a very young age, you know, I knew there was something a bit different about me. My birthday happens to fall on the 31st of October, which you know is All Hallows Eve. And I happened to be born just before midnight. So hence the witchy poo type thing has been attached to me all my life. I'm sort of feeling...
Accompanying both clairvoyants will be a researcher from the team whose task is to take notes during the walk around.
I think I'm a healthy skeptic. I always say to people, you know, that they should disregard anything that's not factual. I'm a very down-to-earth woman. I believe in what I believe in, and I will try to bring to your table all the elements and then leave it to you.
This is the first time that Marion and Paul have been to the jail. What will they make of it? And who will they find?
The whole place just feels much worse than I thought it would.
The clairvoyants walk round the building separately, listening. Both Paul and Marion believe they can sense spirits.
It's the most unpleasant feeling.
I just feel compelled to walk down that corridor. Just absolutely compelled. And yet I know what I'm going to feel to get down there. I know. I feel absolute terror. I can hear all the prayers. I can hear all sorts of prayers. It's an awful, awful place. I can't breathe. I just feel like they're going to have to drag me out. I want to go through the door, and I don't want to go through the door. I want to hang on. I want to be free, but I want to stay. Oh God, it's awful. God.
Whilst Marion seems to sense the presence of many souls, Paul seems to make contact with a specific few.
There's quite a strong presence here, but it's a gentle presence. It's the presence of a woman. And I feel she would have been simple. And she's been accused of something. She doesn't know what's going on.
Marion walks up the steps that would have led the condemned prisoners to the gallows.
She wouldn't have been able to defend herself or anything. She's very soft. I just feel she's sitting down on the floor, curled up, and completely unaware of what's going on around her.
I've got an energy now coming up the stairs. He's strong. He's really strong. But he's scared. He's absolutely terrified. But he's not going to show it. He's not going to show it. He's not going to show him. He's really, really steely strong, but I can feel his knees going, you know? He's buckling under his knees. He's Big Jim. I'm Big Jim. I'll show him how to do this. I'll show him how to do this. I can do this. But his knees are so weak, and he's trembling so bad he's got to clench his fists because he's so frightened, you know? He's really, really frightened inside. It's all bravado. I know what this place is, and I expected it, but I didn't expect to feel that. I didn't expect to feel that desperation.
I really get a very strong impression that somebody's actually would rather have died in here and faced whatever it was this person had to face, and I feel it's a male presence in here.
I've got loads of names. I've got Pete, I've got Will, Big Will, and I've got I've got somebody laughing. They're obviously insane.
Now there is a strong presence here. I feel it's a male presence, very strong presence. And he's a large man. I feel he's a large man. Carries a fair bit of weight. And he's got the keys, so I know he's got the power around here. And I feel he's one of the jailers.
This was an entrance for despair. You know, this people came up here. I don't see anybody going back down. Do you understand? The people that came up here they never came back down. They just never came back down. It's just an amazing feeling.
Well, this place is highly active. I picked up on quite a number of spirits within the building. Some of them simple, some of them very emotional, very disturbed spirits.
I can't begin to describe to you the thoughts and feelings that came through. I could hear prayers, I could see her crying. At one stage I felt as I was going to lose control of my bowels. It affected my stomach, it affected every part of my body.
Also picked up on a jailer